What's up, kings and queens? It's your boy Dan from Daft Previews, and today I'm going to take you through the most comprehensive WNBA player prop preview for this upcoming 4-game slate. If it's your first time checking out the channel, I encourage you to subscribe because I do videos just like this every single day. I share my screen, we go through Outlier, I take you through all the key players, their form lines, their matchups, I tell you what I like and what I don't, and I do all this to give you all the information that you need to make the best bets possible. Now, yesterday, did a preview on the Pacers, not the Pacers, the Fever versus Chicago Sky. Did go 1-3, did get hooked on the BAP, so we got very close, but I'm really starting to lock in. I'm pretty confident about some of these picks, even though I haven't seen them. I just got a good feeling up in my gut. We've got 4 games, a lot of opportunities, so I'm pretty keen to get this one out to you. Now, if that sounds interesting, let's go. So we're jumping into Outline. If you did not know, 7-day free trial for the exact same tool that I'm using right now. It's in the video link below, so feel free to check it out. We're kicking it off, though, with the Atlanta Dream versus the Connecticut Suns. And I've previewed these teams before, so hopefully I get all the players' names right. The Dream, 3.5-point underdogs, so should be a somewhat close game, I assume. The Connecticut Suns, they're looking for their 3rd road win to remain undefeated on the season. They're looking for their first 8-0 start in franchise history. They're led by Dewana Bonner, Alyssa Thomas, and Dejanay Carrington. The Atlanta Dream, they're looking for their 3rd straight win to improve on their 5-2 record so far this season. Dream, they're 2-1 straight up at home this season. They're led by Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, and Tina Charles. And Cheyenne Parker-Tyus grabbing some boards as well. Your report, not too stacked, the Atlanta Dream. They are going to be missing Jordan Canada due to a hand injury. In terms of how we think the game goes, the Suns, they are undefeated, and they should like their chances to keep it rolling. Have beaten the Dream 9 out of their last 10 games, and they've covered in 8 of those games. However, they have failed to cover the line in 5 of their last 6. So it could be a good look to take the Atlanta Dream to cover the spread in this game. I particularly don't pay sides or totals. I'm really just going through that to get a good understanding of which types of players and which ones to look at. Given this game should be close, Atlanta should be able to cover this one. So if it's close, we shouldn't see any blowouts. So a lot of our star players, they should get some time. So let's go through it, shall we? We'll start with the Connecticut Suns. Get with the road team first, and we'll start with one of their big dogs. Who's the big dogs for this Connecticut team? Dewana Bonner. Let's check it out. Now, Outlier automatically filters the props with the highest hit rates. So for Bonner, it's over 1.5 assists. Now, this is at minus 245, so it's not great odds at all, but the hit rate is fantastic. 5 out of the last 5, and in all head-to-head games against the Dream. So I'll quickly show you what that looks like. Could be a good parlay piece, the 1.5. So 7 out of her last 10, 5 consecutive games. She's had 4 games against the Dream, and she's covered in all of them this season, 5 out of her last 7. So the assists, I think 1.5 is a good look, a good parlay piece. But let's check out the points prop for her. 19.5. She's covered in 4 of 7 games so far this season. She had under in 3 consecutive games, though. Minutes, relatively consistent. Shot attempts, they've come down in her last 4. She's had 14.7 so far in the season. She's shooting poorly from downtown, shooting well from the free throw line, but not getting there as much as you'd like. If we look at the head-to-head matchup, she's covered in 2 out of the 4 games against the Atlanta Dream, averaging 17 points per game in those matchups. In terms of Atlanta, they do allow the 5th fewest points in the league, so 5th fewest out of 12, which puts them probably in the top half defensively. So it's not as if Dewana Bonner necessarily has a great matchup in this one. So far, I'd probably have to fade on that in the meantime. But for the rebounds, over 5, you can probably get it at 4.5 somewhere, some 5.5. But let's just look at it at 5. So she's covered this in 3 out of 7 games this season, averaging 4.7 boards. In head-to-head matchup, she's covered in 2 out of 4. Her last 2 games against the Dream, 6 and 9 rebounds. The Atlanta Dream, they allow the 4th fewest amount of rebounds this season. So it could be another difficult matchup there for Dewana Bonner. So based on those numbers, I'm willing to pass on that for now. I'll be looking into these a little bit deeper and taking more time, but to give you guys the information that you need, be through these. Next up, we'll go through Alyssa Thomas. This woman is a beast. Let's check her out right now. Firstly, let's start with points. Her line's at 14.5 this season. 3 out of her last 7 games she's covered. She's averaging 14.5 points per game. If we look at her minutes, 35 minutes on average so far this season, takes less than 10 shots, gets to the free throw line a lot, but it's only shooting them at 67% at the moment. If we look at head-to-head matchups, she's had a lot of success against the Dream. 17, 12, and 15. So she's covered this line in 3 out of her last 4 games against the Dream. So that's an interesting look. On the season, the hit rate is not terrific, not going to lie, but 3 from 7 is not too bad. She's at 14.5. That's where they set the line. So it really just depends on the matchup. So I'm going to put that down as one of my leans because I'm interested to investigate that a little bit further. She's got great success rate against the Dream, which is not a bad starting point. So we'll start with Alyssa Thomas, and then we'll see where I end up. I'm going to be putting together a BAP today. If you don't know what a BAP is, that's where basically it's a bitch ass parlay where I take a lot of the players that I do like for straight bets, and then I adjust the lines for a little bit of safety. All right, so let's take a look at her assist prop. 8.5 on the assist side of things. She's covered that in 3 out of her last 7 games this season. She's averaging 8.7 assists, lines at 8.5. So she could blow this out of the water, or she could not get close. In head-to-head matchups, she's gone under in 4 straight games against the Dream, averaging 7.5. And in terms of the Dream's assists, they do rank 7th on the season. So pretty much near the halfway point in terms of assists allowed. So the matchup I wouldn't say is great nor bad. If we look at her rebounds, though, that line's at 9.5. So this season, she's covered that in 3 out of her last 7. So 4 consecutive games, she's gone under this rebound line. It's now the 4th fewest rebounds in the competition. But in head-to-head matchups, Alyssa Thomas has murdered these girls, covering in 3 out of her last 4 games against the Dream. So her points and her rebounds, we've got a good starting point there because at the very least, she's got the data to back her up when we're talking about historical trends against the opponent. So it's not a bad starting point. We'll check to see what's happening this year, and I'll look further into the matchup. But yeah, Alyssa's not such a bad look. We then have Dejournay Carrington. Let's check out Dejournay real quick. All right, her pine 12.5 this season. She's covered this in 4 out of her last 7. She's averaging 12.5 points. If we look at her minutes, 30 minutes a night and 11 field goal attempts. Head-to-head against the Atlanta Dream, she's gone under in 4 straight games. In those games, though, 21 minutes, 7.8 attempts. So this season, she's getting a lot more runtime, clearly. So she's increased from 21 minutes against this team up to 30 minutes a night in these games. And she's taking 11.7 field goal attempts. The challenge there is that her attempts are trending down, but she does get to the free throw line as well. So I don't necessarily hate this line, but I don't like it enough to take the money. So look at her rebounds, 5 rebounds, 3 out of her last 7 this season, averaging 5.2 boards in head-to-head matchups, 1 out of her last 4. But her head-to-head numbers are going to be skewed because her minutes against the Dream in past seasons haven't been very high. So Dejournay Carrington, I wouldn't write her off. Point rebounds, have a quick look at that. 17.5, 4 out of her last 7 games, 17.8 as an average. Yeah, I'm good enough to take it, but I wouldn't take her unders based on the historical form. Next up, we have Brianna Jones. So Brianna Jones, we did cash out on Brianna Jones in that last matchup. She absolutely scorched at 22 points. I think her line was 11.5, so she killed that for us. Now, her points line has moved up to 15.5 for this game. She's covered in 4 consecutive games with ease, 4 out of 7 games this season. If we look at the head-to-head numbers, last 2 games against the Dream, 18 and 28 points. So my question for y'all is, well, for me, really, I'm thinking, do we run this back with Brianna Jones? Her minutes aren't crazy high. They're somewhat inconsistent, but her shot volume in the last 2 games has been excellent. So I'll take a look at Brianna Jones for sure. I mean, if Thomas is going to get 9 assists, she got to pass it to somebody, right? All right, let me put that onto my little spreadsheet here. Oh, that was a points. I forgot to look at her rebounds. My bad. Rebounds lines at 6.5 this season. She's only covered this once. So she's gone under in 6 out of her last 7 games. this year in terms of her rebounds. The under is minus 140 though, so it is heavily juiced. But if we look at the head-to-head matchup, she's gone over in her last two against Atlanta. So yeah, I'd be a little bit cautious taking the under on Brianna Jones based on recent form because history says she can eat against this dream team. Let's jump into the dream. We'll start with Ryan Howard. Let's check this girl out. So her point line, 18 points this season. 3 out of her last 6 games on the year. She's averaging 18.5. 33 minutes, 14.2 attempts, 6.8 threes, but gets to the free throw line as well. So she looks like a very aggressive scorer, this young lady. But if you look at the head-to-head matchups, she's played the Connecticut Suns 4 times. She's covered this line in 3 consecutive games. In these games, 37 minutes, 16 attempts, 8.8 3-point attempts, and 7 free throws. So extra aggression when she comes up against the Connecticut Suns. So if we base it on recent form, I'd probably be a little bit hesitant because the shot volume probably not as high as you would like. 14.2 is an average, but when she faces these girls, it does move up to 16. So that's an interesting look. She's likely going to be their leading scorer. So I'll add that to my short list to dive into a little bit more later on. Let's check out her assist, 1.5 minus 580. That seems like a scam. I'm not going to waste my time looking at that. Rebound, 4.5. She's covered this in 3 out of her last 6, averaging 5.5 boards so far this season. In head-to-head matchups, 2 out of her last 4. So all of that is pretty 50-50. Can't get a decent read on the Ryan Howard right there. Who else we got up in this joint? Let's look at Alicia Gray. So Alicia Gray's been balling out this season. So her points line's at 16.5. She's covered this line in 4 out of her last 6 games this season. She's averaging 17.5 points. She's getting 32 minutes a night, which is good. Only 12 attempts, though. Shoots a great percentage from downtown. Gets to the free throw line somewhat as well. So pretty scorer. And if we look at her head-to-head matchups against the Connecticut Suns, she's covered this line in 4 consecutive games. Alicia Gray, you got my attention. So let me add you to my list of leans. When you're betting on a regular season, you can get quite far by just finding a lot of green bars. You know what I'm saying? So Alicia Gray giving us the green bars on points. If we look at her assist, her line's at 3.5. She's gone under this in every game this season and in 3 out of 4 games against the Suns. The under is minus 120, which is interesting. The Connecticut Suns, they allow the 3rd fewest assists in the league. So 3.5 at minus 120 doesn't look like such a bad bet, but I'll look into that later. All right. What else we got outside of Alicia Gray? I wanted to look at Tina Charles. Tina. All right. Her points line, 13.5. So Tina Charles must be a rookie. She's only played this season, so it's her first time matching up with them. Yeah, her line 13.5. She's averaging 11.2 this year in 5 games. She's covered this line twice. Her minutes, they're not too bad. Her attempts, about 10 per game. So we've got very limited data on someone like Tina Charles. So I probably wouldn't be interested in playing that. Rebounds is a line. The Connecticut Suns, they allow the fewest rebounds in the league. Her line's at 8.5 though. So an under for this could be interesting. You could say she's got a difficult matchup. Who's she over against? Washington and Dallas. So Dallas. So Connecticut Suns, they give about 31 rebounds per game. Washington are ranked 6th and Dallas are ranked 5th. So they're not bad rebounding teams either, but Tina Charles has rebounded very well against them. So, yeah, pass on it. Yeah, I'm going to pass. I don't want to take any unders on the WNBA till I know what's going on. So pass on that. But Tina Charles, we'll watch her closely. And the last one, Cheyenne Parker-Tyus is who I want to check out. All right, Outlier and the best props for us. Points plus rebounds looks like the look. Line's at 17.5. She's covered this in 4 of her last 6 games this year. 17.5 is her average, and that's exactly where the line is. Problem is, Connecticut Suns allow the fewest points and the fewest rebounds so far this season. So show me her points. 11.5 points. She's only covered this in 2 out of her 6 games. In head-to-head matchup, she has covered in 3 or 4 games against the Connecticut Suns. So that's saying something. If we look at this season, she's getting 24 minutes and 8.5 attempts in head-to-head matchups with the Suns. 25 minutes and 11 attempts. So her volume has been higher against this team in the past compared to what we're seeing so far this season. So based on volume, I wouldn't bet the over for this young lady, but could be a good look. Her rebounds line is at 5.5. Her last 3 games, rebounding like a beast, 8, 9, and 8. She's averaging 5.8 boards this season. The over is juiced to minus 145, though. And if we look at head-to-head matchup, she's covered this in 2 out of her last 4. So, yeah, I'd be a little bit hesitant betting on that. But already from this game, I've got quite a few leans on Alyssa Thomas, Brianna Jones, Alicia Gray. So they're the 3 players that I'll probably be looking into for this particular one. If you're interested in seeing what final picks I land on, all you have to do is sign up to my Winnable. The link to that is in the video description below, but I'll also put in the pinned comment when I'm done. But sign up, you'll get notified the minute my picks are all finished, and you get sent a message or an email basically letting you know that the picks are ready to be taken. Let's jump to the next game, though. It's the Venus. Oh my God, I almost said penis. The Phoenix Mercury versus the Los Angeles Sparks. The Mercury are 4.5 point favorites. So we'll look at the Sparks real quick. They need a win. They've started 2-5 so far this season. They're 1-2 straight up on the road. They're led Derica Hamby, Kia Nurse, Ricky Jackson, and Lexi Brown. So they're the ones I'll probably look into, those players. And the Phoenix Mercury, they've lost consecutive games. They're 2-1 at home this season. They're led Kalia Cooper, Diana Taurasi, and Natasha Cloud, and Sophie Cunningham. So they're probably the 4 players that I'm going to look into for this particular game. In terms of the injury list, the Phoenix Mercury, they're expected to still miss Rebecca Allen and Brittany Griner. The Los Angeles Sparks, they're expected to be without Laisha Clarendon and Azura Stevens. So the line's at 4.5. Both of these come into this game pretty poor form, to be honest. So yeah, I wouldn't know which way to lean based off what I've seen. But hopefully the game close, so a lot of these props can bang. We'll start with the Sparks, though. Let's like to start with the road team. We'll start with Derica Hamby. All right. So Derica Hamby, the double is juiced to the gills. Let's just look at her PRA. Oh, so that's Derica Hamby. I see the photo now. What was that comment that I saw that you saw on the socials? The picture is that the picture with her and Kim Kardashian? And fuck, what's that guy's name? Or whoever her ex-boyfriend was. Someone put a comment saying that it looks like him. My God, that cracked me up. But there's a lot of green bars here. This girl's a beast. Her PRA is at 34.5. She's got a great matchup against a team that allows the second most points, the most rebounds, and the most assists. So how does Derica Hamby not go over this, right? So that's a good look. But let's break down her stats. Her points line's at 18.5. She's covered this in 4 of 7 games this season, averaging 20.57 points. Her lowest total has been 17, highest at 29. She plays about 37 minutes, takes about 15 shots, gets to the free throw line quite well. So this lady's a beast. How do we not take the overs here on Derica Hamby? But that's her points. Let's check out the assists, 3.5. It looks like she does them all. 4 out of her last 7, 3.8 as an average. The head-to-head stuff doesn't look great, but her minutes were down. I'm assuming she might have been a rookie last year or something, but her minutes against this Phoenix team last season were very low. So I can throw all that out the window. But yeah, the minutes there, up against a team who allows the most assists. So how do you not? Looking at her rebounds, 11.5 boards. She's covered this in 5 out of 7 games this season. She's averaging 12.7 rebounds. She's up against it. Gives up the most rebounds in the league. So I think out of all of them, the rebounds is probably what I like the most, followed by the rebounds, followed by the points. That's probably the way that I'd be thinking about it. All right, there's Hamby. Let's take a look at Kia Nurse. So Kia Nurse, her points line's at 12.5. So far this season, she's covered this in 5 out of 7 games. Matchup is good. Minutes per night, taking 10 shot attempts per game. Quite a lot of 3-pointers, but she's shooting 38%, so she does get a little bit streaky. So if you get her on a good day, you're laughing. 3-pointers props at 2.5. 3 out of her last 7. This Phoenix Mercury team does give up a lot of 3-pointers. So I'm going to take note. I'm going to put this on my short list, this 3-point prop. As a remind me to into it a little bit later on, see what's cooking there. Because if you can get her on a good day, this looks like a good play. But she is hot and cold. She might have a good matchup in this one. All right. Ikea Nurse. Who else do we have? Ricky? God damn it. Who the hell puts names up like this? Ms. Jackson. Her points 11.5. She's covered this in 3 out of 7 games this season. She's averaging 10.1. May have a good matchup. May not. 6 attempts. Nah. She ain't one of their key options. We're not looking at that. And let's have a look at Lexi Brown. I'm just really interested to see how well she performs. I'm assuming this is the same Lexi Brown who's always on Gil's Arena. And Lexi Brown doesn't have any props. So how good? Let's get into this Phoenix Mercury. I want to start with Kalia Cooper. Now, I feel like I've heard that name so many times, but I don't even know who this woman is. Let's check it out. Kalia Cooper. So she looks like she's a wing. Ooh, her points line, 22.5. She's getting buckets. She's hit this line in 3 out of her last 8 games, though. Not great this season, although she is averaging 24.2 points. So she's giving me Anthony Edwards vibe. She going to kill it or be killed. Minutes consistent, 18 shots per game. So there's a lot of shots going up. If you look at her head, she hasn't played them. So we're not going to. Takes a lot of 3-pointers. Shoots them at a 39% clip. So it's not bad. Has had a few games where she hasn't made any. So out of curiosity, where do these Sparks? The Sparks, they're in the bottom 4 in terms of 3-pointers allowed. So Kalia Cooper, her 3-pointers could be a look. I don't know if I want to play her points prop because 22-point-something points is a lot. I don't want to bet in the WNBA to cover that. So, all right, let's take a look at rebound. 4.5. She's covered this in 4 out of 8 games, averaging 4.3 boards. The Sparks, they only allow the third fewest rebounds in the league this year. So, just thinking about that, I think the under is probably the way that I'd go. But I don't want to bet many unders if I had to. But I'll add that to my short list anyway. We're going to deep dive it. Let's deep dive it right. So, Kalia Cooper rebounds, leaning to the under on that. Her assist prop is juiced to the max. So you'd have to, the over is definitely the way to go, but at minus 275, good luck if you choose to bet that. Outside of Kalia Cooper, I like to look at the OG, Diana. What is Diana called? She's the GOAT of the WNBA, is she not? Do you have any nicknames? Let me know what her nickname is in the comment section below if you're still listening to this. But her points line, 15.5 in this game. It's a plus money play. She's hit this in only 3 out of 8 games so far this season, averaging 16 points per game. Minutes, 27.8. Last 3 games, minutes have been coming down. 13.6 shot attempts. So shot attempts trending down. 3-point attempts trending down. A lot of things are trending down. I don't know if this team is getting minutes from somebody else, but based on that trend, I'd have to lean to the under, but not with much confidence at all. Her 3-point props at 2.5. It's hitting 4 of 8 games, so nothing crazy there. Her rebounds, 4.5. She's covered in 4 out of 8 games this season. In the head-to-head in the past, 1 out of her last 3. So difficult matchup on the boards. But, yeah, I'm not feeling anything ET in this one. Next up, I want to look at Natasha Cloud. That's what I'm thinking about. Natasha Cloud. So Natasha Cloud, her points line is at 11.5 on this season, 3 out of 8 games. She's hit this line, averaging 11.2 points. If we go down, she's playing 32 minutes a night. She takes about 10 shots on average. So when she's scoring, she takes a lot more. But for the most part, doesn't take many shots. Can't shoot a 3 to save her life. 18%, 0.6 from 3.4 attempts. And kind of gets to the front. So, yeah, I probably lean to the under for her points at 11.5, but I ain't game enough to play that. Her assist prop is interesting, 7.5, which means she's a notable passer. The Sparks do allow the second most assists in the league, but she's only covered the line in 3 out of her last 8 games. So, yeah, I'd be a little bit cautious. The line is at 7.1, though, but she's underperformed against some really strong teams. The Connecticut Suns, they smacked the Mercury by 23 points. And then the Liberty. Actually, we're very close to the Liberty, but from what I understand, they're a pretty good team. And then they just got smoked by the Lynx. I believe that's Minnesota. So I think that's interesting. See it at 7.5, despite going under in 3. It's got my attention. So I'll look into Natasha Clough's assist. Rebounds, 4.5. Difficult matchup, but she's averaging 4.7 on the season. She's covered this in 4 out of her last 8. So just looking at the numbers, I'd probably lean under, but yeah, again, not one that I'm going to bet on. So pass on betting on those. And the next player I wanted to look at was Sophie Cunningham. So Sophie Cunningham so far this season has been nailing these 3-pointers, so that could be a good look. Her line's at 1.5. It is minus 158 though, but she has cashed in 6 out of 8 games so far this season. And she's averaging 4.8 attempts, and her volume in her last 6 games is very good. The Sparks, they do in the bottom 4 in terms of 3-pointers allowed. So, yeah, Sophie Cunningham, for you fan players, that could be a good look. I want to check, who did I miss? Cameron Brink. Is that the chick that was, I think she was on she's the tall chick, right? If I'm talking bloody professional basketball players, what a stupid question. Of course she's tall. But she was on the Cast P episode, I believe. But anyway, I'm thinking out loud here and no one's talking back to me. Her point sign's at 9.5. Has had games where she scored 21 and others where she scored 3 and 4 points. She does get 24 minutes a game. Her shot volume's not very high and doesn't get to the free throw line very much. Her rebound line's at 6.5, 3 out of 7 games. So there's no real consistency here. She does have a great matchup, though. This Mercury team gives up a lot of boards. And from what I remember, they're still without Brittany Griner. So they could be a little bit soft on the interior. I'm going to just take note of Cameron Brink rebounds, dive into that, and see if I can find any value. All right, let's jump into this next game. Who we got? It's the Minnesota Lynx versus the Dallas Wings. No, that's the last game. Sorry. We're talking about the New York Liberty versus the Indiana Fever. So the Indiana Fever on a back-to-back, eh? The line for this one is the Liberty minus 15 points, which is crazy. So the Fever, they're looking for back-to-back wins. 2-8 start this season. They're 1-4 straight up on the road. Obviously, they've got Caitlin Clark Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston and Nalissa Smith. Nalissa with 2 capital letters in that first name. I remember you, girl. And for the Liberty, they're looking for their 3rd win to build on their 6-2 record. They're 4-1 straight at home this season. They've got Brianna Stewart, Sabrina, Jonquil Jones. So they'll be the key players that I look through. The Liberty expected to be with Sabali and Vandersloot. And the Fever expected to be without Fag Benlay and Dantas. God, I'm butchering these names. Line at 15. You got to side with the Liberty. I mean, with the Fever in this one. They're not a great team. But the Liberty, they've won 8 straight games against the Fever. The last time they played, I think it was an 11-point win a couple of weeks ago. But saying that, the Liberty have been getting these big-ass lines all season, and they haven't been able to cover them. They're 1-7 against the spread on the year. They're also 1-9 against spread in their last 10 games as double-digit favorites. So the Liberty, they don't cash tickets as massive favorites. So I think the Fever to cover could be a good look. Another parlay idea I just thought of is, because I don't think there's any doubt that the Liberty win this game or not, but a same game parlay, I'm just cooking it right now. We could look to take the Liberty to win and the Fever to cover. Put those 2 things together, plus money every day of the week. So I'm opening up my sportsbook right now because I tend to forget these things. I got plus 130. You get the New York Liberty to win, Fever plus 15.5. If you wanted it, if I want to get a little bit safer and just hit plus 100, you can go Liberty to win, Fever plus 17.5. Oh, hell yeah. I'm betting that right now. All right, now where the hell was I? Playing props. That's right. Go with the Indiana Fever, who are on the road. Let's go with our girl, CC, Sweet Caitlin Clark. Getting beat up I don't know why these girls be beating on Caitlin Clark. She's bringing audience, she's bringing fans to the game. She's gonna get all these ladies paid, and all they're doing is bashing her every single night. Poor Caitlin Clark. Now let's talk about these props. Her points line is at 17.5, pretty low, minus 130 to the over. She played 10 games this season. She's covered this in 5 of those games. She's played this team twice already. She scored 9 points in one game, 22 points the following game. That 22 points was on the road against the Liberty, and they are on the road again for this one. So 16.9 points as an average Caitlin Clark's. If we just check out her road games, she's covered in 3 out of her last 5 on the road. So that's not a strong correlation. This Liberty team, they do allow the second fewest points in the league. So I'd probably be a little bit hesitant to take any bets on Caitlin Clark points. But 17.5, it feels like that's one of the lowest lines we've seen. And being honest, I probably only checked her lines 3 or 4 times, but that's definitely the lowest I've seen at 17.5. But let's look at her assists. Out of her last 10 games, she's covered. She averages 6.5 on the season. The Liberty, they do sit in the bottom 4 in terms of assists allowed, so that could be a good look for us. And in head-to-head matchup, she got 6 and then 8 assists in the 2 games. So Caitlin Clark assists, you got my attention, my girl. Let's take a look at her rebounds. 5.5 is the line, minus 135. 8 rebounds in her last game. The Liberty allow the second fewest rebounds. So she averages 5.4, 5 out of her last 10. And she went over this in both games against the Liberty with 7 and 6 boards. So even though the matchup is a tough one, Caitlin Clark has got the boards against them in the past. So I'll add that to my short list and see where we land. Who else do we want to look at? So Kelsey Mitchell. So I took an under in her 3-point prop in that last game, which cashed. Thank you very much. It was the only winner I had on the day. But let's look at her points line. 15.5 this season, 6 out of her last 10. This girl's consistent as hell. Look at that. She's averaging 14.5 on the season. Head-to-head matchups against the Liberty from twice this season. 5 points in game 1, 17 points the following game on the road. She does average 13.8 against them. At 15.5, I feel like it's quite sharp. I know she's covered it before. But maybe he's taking her for some red lines as part of a parlay. That could be a good look, but yeah, I'm not feeling that. If we look at 3-pointers made, her matchup's not too bad against the Liberty. Liberty are bottom 3 in terms of 3-pointers allowed in head-to-head matchups this season. 1 and 3 3-pointers for Kelsey Mitchell. The over is at plus 142, by the way. She's cashed 3 3-pointers instead of 10 games, though. Takes 5.7 attempts, is only shooting 32%, so she's in a bit of a slump right now, so I'm going to have to pass on her. We then have Aaliyah Boston. Let's check your girl out. Points-wise for Aaliyah Boston, she's covered this line in 8 out of 10 games. Oh, sorry, she's gone under in 8 of her last 10. Crikey. So that could be a good look, taking the under for Aaliyah Boston. 8 out of her last 10 in head-to-head matchups. She's gone under in 3 out of the last 6. So she did go under in both games this year, but she did score 12 points. So the 12.5 might be a bit of a sweat. So I'm not going to bet that, actually. Her rebound line, 7 rebounds in both games against the Liberty this season. 2 out of her last 6 games against them. And in 10 games this year, she's covered this rebound line of 7.5 in 3 out of those games. Liberty, tough matchup. Second fewest rebounds allowed. So I might pass on Aaliyah Boston here. Doesn't have strong head-to-head form. Recent form's not great either. Well, sorry, last 2 games have been great, but season form, probably not the best. So it feels like quite a sharp line in my opinion. Where's my girl, Nalissa? Nalissa Smith, here she is. So her points line, 13.5. She's covered this in 3 out of 10 games, so not great. Last 2 have been excellent, not gonna lie. And in head-to-head matchups, 2 out of her last 4. The 2 games she's played the Liberty this season, though, 5 and 11 points. So 25 and 21 minutes. Last 2 games, she got 33 and 34 minutes. So if Nalissa can get some minutes, I think she can bang the over in these points here. My question is, why didn't Nalissa Smith get minutes in her last 2? I wonder what's happening there. So I'm going to take her down as a lean. I'll see if I can find some information as to why she's getting more minutes, but don't mind that. Her rebound line is at 8.5, rebounding well in her last 2, 4 out of her last 10 in head-to-head matchups. Again, both unders in the first 2 games against the Liberty. She wasn't in foul trouble, that's for sure. Minutes were just down. But yeah, the last two games where she's got minutes, 33 and 34 minutes, 10 and 9 boards. So I don't mind that one either, but I think the points has a bigger upside. That's probably what I'm going to be looking at most. And heading into the Liberty, let's have a look at Brianna Stewart. So what the hell's going on with your girl over here? All right, the under's been cashing well for Brianna Stewart. 6 out of 8 games this season, she's gone under this points prop. Although she does come up against a Fever, who allow the most points in the league. The only teams that Brianna Stewart has managed to go over on this season is the Indiana Fever, scoring 31 and 24 points. It's wild, right? So goes under with everybody else, rocks up against Indiana, only plays 29 minutes and absolutely smokes them. 21 and 14 attempts. Man, she gets to the free throw line very well too. So Brianna Stewart, the over must look nice. There's got to be something to do. Is it the Caitlin Clark thing? But she eats against this team. Assist 3.5, 4 out of her last 8 against the Fever, 4 and 2. So yeah, nothing screaming out to me with her assist. I can pass on that. Rebounds 9.5 is the line. She just had a 15 rebound game against Washington. 5 out of her last 8 games against the Fever, 10 and 5 points. 10 and 5. The home game, she only had 5. It's a big line, 9.5. It's a high rebound line. I don't think I could dance with that. The points line, I don't know. I don't even know if I could dance with it, but there could be some correlation. Could be Indiana thing where she just goes off on them. Let's talk about Sabrina right now. All right. So Sabrina's points line, 17.5. She's covered this in 4 of her last 5 games, 4 of 8 on the season. But her recent form, you could say, is tremendous. Against the Fever, though, 14 and 12 points this season. So hasn't got cooking against them. She played less minutes than she normally does. 29 minutes this game, averaging 32 on the season. Shot attempts were quite low. But after those 2 games against the Fever, really started to pop off. So I'd probably be a bit hesitant there, but I can see why you could like it. Her assist line's at 6.5. She's covered this in 3 out of 8 games. The matchup's not a bad one, but she went under in her assists in both games against Indiana last time, if that's saying something. And her point prop is at 2.5, minus 172. 2 out of her 4 in the 2 games against the Fever, but her last 2 games, she stroked 4 3-pointers in both of those games. So there's a lot of attempts here. You're really just relying on percentages. If she can shoot 30 to 40%, I think she goes over, but at minus 172, not something I'm willing to play with. Who else we got? Jonquel. So we did cash a bet on Joel Jones the other day. Let's see where she's at. Her points line has moved up to 15.5. She's cashed this in 4 of 8 games this season. The 2 games against the Fever, 14 points in both of them, right? So hasn't managed to cover this against them recently. So that's enough information for me to back the fuck off. Rebounds, 8.5, 3 out of her last 8 this season, but rebound extremely well against Indiana, 10 and 12 boards despite getting less minutes. So, yeah, I think the boards, PJ Joel Jones, that could be on. That could be a look right there. So let me add that to my short list. And I'm not really keen on any of the others. So let's jump into the last game. And that last game is the Minnesota Lynx versus the Dallas Wings. The Lynx, 6.5 point favorites in this game. The Dallas Wings, they do look for a big road win to get above 500. The Wings are 2-2 straight up on the road this season. They're led by, oh God, I put this every single time. Enrique Ogunbowale. Somebody give me the phonetics. Type that shit in for me because she's their top scorer. She's averaging 27 points a game. We'll look at Natasha Howard. We'll also look at Maddie Siegrist, and Monique Billings. So we'll check those players out. And for the Minnesota Lynx, they're looking for another win to build on their 5-2 record. The Lynx are 3-1 straight up at home this season. We'll be taking a look at Nafisa Collier, Kayla McBride, Alana Smith, and Courtney Williams in this preview. The Lynx, 6.5 point favorites. Dallas playing pretty good at the moment. They're keeping games close, but they're not winning. They are 5-1 against the spread on the season, so there is some value there. But in saying that, the Minnesota Lynx, they're 7-1 against the spread on the season. They're in offensive field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. The Lynx are second in defensive field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. So this will be the 5th straight road game for Dallas. so they could have some tired legs. They've been on the road since May 21st. So it's a very long time. At some point, it's going to catch up with them. So putting all that on the line, I'll probably lean towards the Minnesota Lynx to cut this one. But let's go through these Dallas players first, starting with. Let's go with Enrique. I might even be saying that wrong. That's the easiest. That's the easiest one. The easier one to say, and I'm probably still saying that wrong. But let's check her out. Where the hell's her points from? 27, 24 and a half. Okay. Her points line, 24.5. She's covered this in 3 out of 6 games this season, averaging 27.5 points. The Minnesota Lynx, third best team in terms of points allowed. She's versed this Lynx team 4 times in her career last season. Went under in all 4 games. So at 24.5, I wouldn't be willing to bet on anybody. Always be leaning to the under on that. Her assist line is at 4.5 though. She's covered that in 3 out of 6 games, averaging 4.6. The Lynx allow the second fewest assists, but she has cashed this in 3 out of her last against them. So, yeah, I don't love it. Yeah, so I'm probably not going to tip. Rebounds, 3.5. This out of her last 6 games, she's covered this rebound line. It is at minus 156, though, but in head-to-head matchup, she's covered in 3 out of her last 4. So even though it's a little bit juiced, I'm going to take it down as a short list because I think it's got a really good chance of hitting. Could be a good look for parlays and all that. So let me take your name down, young lady. Next up, Natasha Howard. Where's she at? She ain't even on here. Is she even playing? No, she's not playing. Jaylen Brown, Natasha Howard, and Sabali are out. All right, where's Maddie? Greased. What's up, Greasy? All right, points line, 13.5. Season, 3 out of her last 6. She has covered in her last 3. I wonder which one of these players. Am I saying Natasha Howard? Okay, Natasha Howard. Trash. Doesn't change too much. All right, so her last 3 games have been awesome, and that's because her minutes are up. So they do have some injuries, and sweet old Maddie here has been picking up the slack. 3 out of her last 6 she's covered in 22, 15, and 17. You need 14 points to cash this bet. The minutes are good. The temps aren't crazy high. That last game, she just shot 8 from 8. So I don't know if you could expect that. But yeah, it could be a difficult matchup. But let me look into this sweet old Maddie a little bit more. Take that down. Her rebounds at 3.5, minus 275. Fuck that. I'm not touching that shit. Ugh. That's disgusting. All right, I'm wondering if there's anyone else. Perhaps when I see the name Monique, it takes me back 20 years. But probably not 20 years. Oh, shit. It's actually closer to 20 years now that I think about it. It's that Petey Pablo song, Freak a Leak. Let me know in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, Monique. 12.5 is her points line. She's covered this in 3 out of 5 games, averaging 13 points per game. Minutes, 29 minutes per game, 9.2 attempts. So if she's putting shots, she's going to cover this with ease. But there's a couple of games where she doesn't take many shots at all. So that makes me a little bit nervous, I would say. Her assist line's at 1.5. She's been dumped, this girl. Look at that. 4 out of 5 games this year, she's covered 1.5 and covering it quite well. She's averaging 2.8. This is minus 450 though. But you have the option between 1.5 and 3.5. Oh, that's a bit stupid. Let's look at her rebounds. 7.5 boards for Monique. 3 out of 5 games she's covered. 7.6 as an average. So I'm noticing a lot of these lines are really just the players' averages, which tells me the lines probably aren't too sharp if you know what the hell you're talking about. So I'm going to figure this out, and I think there's going to be a real moneymaker. But Monique to go over a rebounds, I don't mind that. The Minnesota Lynx, that is a weak spot of theirs. They're in the bottom 3 in terms of rebounds allowed. So Monique been having some big games. I wouldn't put it past her to have another one here. So thank you very much. Thanks for coming. All right, let's look at these players from the Lynx. Collier got hooked on the last bet I made on her. Foolishly bet her rebounds and assists when I said I would bet her rebounds, but I bitched it. But anyway, her points line, 21.5. She's cashed this in 2 of 7 games this season. She's averaging 21 points. So again, the line is just where the average is. But she's gone under this 5 times. Dallas, they are in the bottom 4 in terms of points though. So that could be an interesting look. But just if you just base it on how she's been performing, the under is the way to go. So I'm not going to bet this under. It's just I'm putting it down on my short list because that makes a lot of sense. So if I'm right, and a lot of these lines are pretty much set on the player's average this season, then WNBA is going to be easy once we figure this shit out. So her minutes in the last 4 have come down. The games where she's gone over this line, check this out, 44 and pretty much 44 minutes a night. That's crazy. So she's not going to get that. So I don't mind the under here. Let's look at her rebounds. 10.5 boards. She's cashed this in 5 out of her last 7. Lines at 10.5. And she averages 10.8, of course. So, yeah, I like the over for the boards. Probably not enough to edit, but it's a plus money look. But I think Nafisa Collier, her rebounds, that will be great for the BAP. Bit of parlay action. Her assist line is juiced to the max, so we're not going to fuck around with that one. All right. I'm getting a bit excited. Let's have a look at Kayla McBride. So Kayla McBride, her assists have been a wagon. Check this out. 3.5 assists. It's a plus money play against a Dallas team sitting in the bottom 3 for assists. She averages 3.8. Her line's at 3.5 plus money. She's hit the 6 out of 7 games this season, and she's hit this in her last 2 games against Dallas. Fuck me. How easy do you want to make it? Or how obvious do you want to make it? I mean, that could be the biggest trap I've ever seen. But then I'm going to be looking at her points lines at 12.5, 4 out of 7 games this season. She's averaging 14.7. Her line's only at 12.5. But there is an outlier game here where she scores 31. The matchup's not too bad, but I don't love this much as her assist prop. So I'll probably just stick with the assist for Kayla McBride. Rebounds, 3 out of 7. I'm not fucking with that. I'll pass. Thank you. And who else do we have? Alana Smith and Courtney Williams. Let's have a look at Alana Smith. Her points line is at 12.5. I think she's in her rookie season. She's covered this in 5 out of 7 games. She's averaging 13.5, lines at 12.5. Her minutes are a little bit all over the place, so I don't want to bet that. I'm pretty sure her rebounds are going to be all fucked up for the same reason. Yep. Rebound numbers all over the place because of her minutes. So I'm going to have to pass on her. And the last one, let's look at Courtney Williams with that Cisco-ass haircut. You can see right here. Ooh, that thing's so scandalous. Her points line, 11.5. 3 out of 7 games this season, averaging 11.7. Yeah, her minutes aren't great either. Man, these role players are trash. Well, they're probably not. I just don't know them enough to bet on them. Rebound lines at 5.5, 4 out of 7, 5.2 this season. The Dallas, they're a decent rebounding team, but her minutes are all over the place. So, yeah, I'm going to have to pass on that. Oh, shit, we're about to an hour. Well, I am before I edit everything out. But look, that's the 4 games. I got a whole list of leans, so check out my winnable if you want to see what I want to bet on. But if you just wanted to see that research, you are welcome. And if you made it this far, I thank you for my support. I thank you for your support and getting the watch time up. Tomorrow, I'll mostly be dropping the preview for the first of the NBA Finals, Dallas versus Boston. So you can expect to see that one tomorrow. If that consumes all of my time, I won't be able to make another WNBA video. But if you have signed up to my winnable, then you'll get all the picks that I choose to play anyway. Lastly, if you want to throw more support my way, like the video, sub to the channel if you haven't, and check out that video description below. Those are my affiliate links. And if you use those affiliate links, it helps me get out of the hood. If you don't have Chalkboard and Dabble Fantasy and you have access to them, use the links in the video description below or sign up with the code DAFT and you'll get sign-up bonuses and deposit matches, yada, yada, yada. But I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Sub to the channel because your boy's getting busy. Coming to you live from the west side of Sydney. We've got the free picks and the juice on the daily. It's all free, you don't even have to pay me.